When I was going through joining the Catholic Church, I remember asking hundreds of questions, one of which was why we use incense during Mass. So I'd asked this to my sponsor, who was my brother, and he told me that it was essentially as the incense smoke was raised, it was raising our prayers with it. So it was symbolic of our prayers that were rising up to God. So, as true as this is, there is a lot more background behind the incense usage in Mass. So, incense is traced back into Judaism. It's talked about in Exodus. The high priest had 2 points during the day where they were the hours of prayer, the hours of incense. And what they would do is they would go into the tabernacle and they would end up burning the incense and praying for an hour. And so we see incense usage there, and then going into the New Testament, in Luke, we see Zechariah praying an hour of incense. And this is when John the Baptist is actually conceived within Elizabeth, when Elizabeth is told that she's going to have a son even in her old age. So we see incense as being used in our prayers. Revelation 8 verse 3 says, "And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to mingle with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense rose with the prayers of the saints from the hand of the angel before God." So obviously this is a revelation to St. John. This is something that's more of a foretelling. So we can see here, though, that the prayers are actually mingled within the incense, and that is how the prayers are reached to God, and that it's symbolic there. So incense is used outside of Christianity too. There are pagan religions that use it, witchcraft even. They will use it sometimes to conjure specific spirits, or if they need a certain spell. So when we look at this, we need to bear in mind that everything on this earth can be used for good and for bad. You can take a brick and build a church, or you can take a brick and throw it through a window. You can use sex productively in a marriage, or you can use sex in a completely perverted fashion. Everything in this world can be used for good or bad, and it's up to us to choose how we're going to use it. So in Christianity, we use incense. The frankincense and the myrrh that was brought to Christ. You can take that resin and you can actually burn it. And it creates this purifying, it's this meditative environment. And there are all of these holistic values that are attached to these different incense that we can do. But ultimately, it is a symbol of prayer. It purifies everything that it's around, and that's on a universal level. You look at Buddhists, you look at any religion, Hinduism, you'll see that they use incense as a meditative assistant and as something that purifies everything around them. And then additionally, with Catholicism, it assists in the utilization of all five of our senses. So in Catholicism, we have the taste of the body and blood of Christ. We have the sight of, the symbols that we have of Christ and Mary to remind us of everything there. We have the sound, we have touch, and we have smell. So it essentially fulfills everything of what we know here on earth with the different senses that we are able to achieve within everything else. When we look at Malachi 1, it says, "In every place incense is offered to my name in a pure sacrifice." So we can see that we have this ability in Mass. There are different traditions. So there is the thurifer, which is who is actually carrying the thura bowl, which is what the incense is burned within. And then the censer, it's called a censer or a thura bowl. But essentially, so if you have 3 swings of the thurible, it's used to incense the most blessed sacrament, a relic of the Holy Cross, and images of the Lord exposed for public veneration or prayer, the offerings for the sacrifice of the Mass, the altar cross, the book of the Gospels, the paschal candle, the priest, and the people. So that's when, the priest will be up there and he'll do 3 swings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then there are the 2 swings of the thurible, which are used to incense relics and images of the saints exposed for public veneration. And this should be done only at the beginning of the celebration following the incensation of the altar. And then when the priest goes around the altar, it's just a single swing all the way around. So there are different traditions for how the incense is spread when we're actually in the Mass. And I mean, when we look at the triune God, we can see why those specific ones, when it's the three shakes of the thurible, why that would be for the most blessed sacrament, the most holy, the most holy pieces of everything having to do with the Mass. So I enjoyed looking into this today. I hope that you find all of the information helpful, and I will see you guys all again next week Sunday. I hope you have a blessed day.